So this is going to be another movie review. This one's called The Rookie 1990. This is going to be another Karate Man recommendation. Giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I dislike this one. This is going to be another lamestream movie directed by Clint Eastwood. Movie poster says Clint Eastwood, Charlie Sheen, The Rookie. And Clint Eastwood, being the older guy, is not the rookie in this one. Charlie Sheen is. The Rookie is a 1990 U.S. buddy cop action thriller film. Oh, right up Karate Man's alley. Directed by Clint Eastwood, written by Boaz Yakin and Scott Spiegel, and produced by Howard G. Kazanjian, Steven Siebert, and David Valdez. The film stars Eastwood, Charlie Sheen, Raul Julia, Sonia Braga. We like Sonia Braga in this one. She does a little bit of we like the Brazilian lead. Wow. She does a little lap dance on Mr. Eastwood while he's about to die. I guess she's into necromania. I don't know. And then you've got Laura Flynn. Well, of course, it's all simulated off camera, so there's no actual nudity in this. I don't have to go to confession. Boyle and Tom Skerritt. Speaking of confession, I got suspended from the Legion of Mary, which is almost like a badge of honor because I think there's something fishy going on with that Legion of Mary. I tried to blow the whistle on me and they suspended me. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I guess they're trying to punish me while things sort of blow over, which is kind of a blessing in disguise because I told Jimmy Trainer, I told him that I was going to review his Alien Parasite movie last year. But I had so much Legion of Mary. I was doing like 10 things a week. And so I never had time to watch movies or do anything. Working full time, spending time with my son, doing the Legion of Mary. It was really hard for me. So now I've got all this free idle time tomorrow. I'll probably commit a mortal sin if I don't ask the blessed, holy Queen Mother, Mama Mary, for intervention. Anyways, hopefully there are no movies on my list with nudity. That's what I told my spiritual advisor, or my former spiritual advisor, Father Michael J. Konopik, the great Father Michael J. Konopik. All right, Eastwood plays a veteran police officer teamed up with a younger detective played by Sheen, the Rookie, whose intent is to take down a German crime lord in downtown Los Angeles. Following months of investigation into an exotic car theft ring. A lot of this movie is really hard to see because it's so dark. All the scenes are really dark, or at least I would say 75% of the scenes. The Rookie premiered in the United States and Canada on December 7th, 1990, grossing $21,633,874 in ticket receipts, just under its budget of $30 million. The film was overshadowed by the continuing success of Home Alone, which I also have on my movies list, which opened 3 weeks earlier, and it ended up being one of the top 100 highest grossing films of all time. A financial disappointment, The Rookie was met with generally lackluster reviews. Critics consider it formulaic and shallow and question the casting of the Puerto Rican Julia and the Brazilian Braga as Germans. Yeah, how is Raul Julia a German kraut? As Clint Eastwood calls him, it's kind of confusing, and you kind of scratch your head when he calls him a kraut, Raul Julia. You're scratching your head, and you know his ethnicity is not German. And now that I come to think of it, neither is the hot Brazilian. A scene in which Eastwood was raped by Braga also generates some controversy. I don't know why. There's no nudity in it. The stunts and special effects, however, were met with praise. I like the explosion when the best scene is where, okay, Clint Eastwood is driving a car with Charlie Sheen in the passenger side. He's driving it through the building window, and it just flies through the air, and then it just goes while the building explodes, and you can see the fires right behind the car. That was an awesome scene. I wish the whole movie was like that, but no such luck for this one. Distributed by Warner Brothers production company Malpaso Productions. Release date December 7th, 1990. Running time 120 minutes. Country United States. Language English. Budget $30 million. Box office $21.6 million. Veteran LAPD detective Nick Polvosky and his partner Powell attempt to bust some criminals, loading a truck with stolen luxury vehicles. In the ensuing gunfight, Powell is killed. Nick pursues the fleeing truck, but the gang detaches a trailer with him in it. Now classified as a homicide case, Nick is barred from investigating further and assigns a new partner, rookie cop David Ackerman, played by Charlie Sheen. Nick and a confused David defy orders and investigate the gang anyway. They go to the country club for lunch and see the criminals' leader, Strom. The German kraut, played by Raul Julia, of all people. He's got his eyes bulging again. He's trying to be a good criminal like another German, General Bison from Street Fighter. All right. Nick confronts him and gives him Powell's blood-stained badge. Later, they go to a bar so Nick can talk to his informant, Felix. David gets in a brawl at the bar, during which his badge is stolen. Nick, a regular, diffuses the fight. Nick intimidates Strom's associate Morales into cooperating with him by destroying his car at a junkyard. Yeah, he's doing the metal magnet on the car, on the Beamer. He's like swinging it around, crashing it into junkyard cars. And he's trying to do the one-liners, but the one-liners didn't really impress me. Morales succeeds in placing a bug in Strom's apartment, but Strom and his girlfriend Liesel kill him for botching the earlier theft. We like Liesel on this one. We want to see more Liesel and less Raul Julia. She kind of reminds me of Katnia Sassoon in a way, because she's got this perverse obsession with with Clint Eastwood. She's like riding on top of him. Interesting position there. Okay. I won't say what it rhymes with, okay? Now desperate for money, Strom holds up a casino. When the manager opens the safe, David and Nick emerge from the safe, having heard his plan through Morales' bug. But Nick attempts to arrest them, but when David refuses to shoot an unarmed Liesel, they manage to kidnap Nick and shoot David. Strom demands $2 million ransom and takes Nick to his chop shop. David survives, having blocked the shot with his body armor. The police refuse to pay the ransom, and Nick is written off as a dead man. Determined to help Nick, David returns to the bar and demands information. He ends up starting a huge brawl and several fires, terrorizing the customers. He then tries to find Felix at his dry cleaner's shop, but arrives just as a gunman named Loco whacks Felix for being a rat. Loco then assaults David and escapes. David goes to his wealthy father for the $2 million before informing his wife he has the money. She tells the cops are looking for she tells him the cops are looking for him since he is not checked in and that his superiors waiting at their home. David promises to return, but he is arrested by two other officers. After realizing that he is being set up, he escapes custody by handcuffing two police officers to each other. This movie is kind of it's hard to imagine, because at one point Clint Eastwood is just he's got a gun pointed at him and he just punches the guy in the face, like he doesn't even care if the gun is there. This movie, I had to really it's poorly edited also, because the scenes are kind of choppy and you're thinking, what the heck is going on in this movie? I had to go back and rewatch the first 30 minutes because I was getting distracted, and the scenes were so choppy. It made me want to look away. The scenes were choppy and dark. David crashes his motorcycle through his own front door to find Loco attacking his wife. In the fight, she ends up shooting the gunman dead, and then they get in an argument. You shouldn't have killed him. If I killed him, he'd still be alive. I don't understand this dialogue at all. His car reminds him of Strom's garage, where he goes to find Nick after Nick is tortured and raped by Liesel while being filmed. So not only does she want to ride on his lap with his dingling hanging out and her panties off, but she also wants to film it on VHS tape for playback. He manages to steal a revolver and overpower her, but falls into an elevator shaft and plays dead, alerted by dripping blood from the the guy that he killed while he was in the elevator. Strom sees Nick, and Strom tries to kill Nick. David arrives in time to run them off and save Nick. Nick then drives the convertible out the window. The best scene in the movie. This is the reason to watch right here. Fast forward to about the hour mark or so, maybe hour 30. This movie is way too long. 120 minutes? Are you kidding me? Anyways, as I was saying, Nick drives a convertible out the window of the upper floor to escape a bomb planted inside to destroy evidence, and they continue their pursuit. That was an awesome scene right there. That was the whole reason to watch the movie. Nick and David managed to hijack a Van Strom sends to exchange the money. They take it and follow Strom to the airport. David pursues and eventually kills Lysol, while Nick pursues Strom. Strom eventually shoots Nick. David shoots Strom, who also shoots David. Ultimately, Nick gets his revenge on Strom. Sometime later at the police station, David is finally considered a veteran cop. Nick, now promoted to rank of lieutenant, assigns him his own rookie. All right. Well, the sets and equipment within California, filming was done primarily on location in Saratoga, San Jose, and Los Angeles. Various filming sites included Interstate 680, State Route 87 in San Jose for an opening chase sequence featuring the semi-tractor trailer, the famous Villa Montalvo mansion for the henchmen meeting scene in the Santa Cruz Mountains of Saratoga, and the San Jose International Airport, as well as the Mojave Air and Spaceport for the final action climax scene, which author Lawrence F. Knapp described as both purgative and objectionable, a vivid personal exchange of camera angles and vantage points that complicate rather than conclude. Furniture warehouse on the corner of 4th and Hewitt Streets in downtown Los Angeles stood as the hideaway for Strom's illegal theft operation. But in relation to same hideaway's demise later in the film, a different building was used in the City of Commerce, a warehouse previously occupied by an auto agency slated for demolition on Flower near 12th Street, stood in for the impending explosion-filled destruction. That was an awesome explosion. The explosion at the end with the airplanes crashing, that was not an awesome explosion. During an introductory scene where Eastwood's character pulls up in an unmarked squad car to foil the plans of the car thieves, a Z-shaped thoroughfare called Santa Fe Street provided the perfect secluded background at night, which also happened to overlook the Los Angeles skyline. For the action sequences involving aircraft at the San Jose airport, isn't that called the Norman Mineta Airport? A Hansa twin-engine jet was used to collide with a Convair 880 that was briefly disguised as a 150-passenger Evergreen International Airlines Boeing 727. All right. In keeping with the continuity of the subject matter and storyline, The film was punctuated with the use, and in some cases, the destruction of expensive and alluring foreign automobiles, including a Ferrari Daytona, a Porsche 928, a Jaguar XJ, as well as brief appearances of Cadillac Alante and Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit. A vintage gull-wing Mercedes-Benz 300 SL is also presented in the film, being personally driven by Braga's character in an introductory sequence before a large-scale climatic car chase scene. In addition to driving a newly redesigned Mercedes-Benz 500 SL for the 1990 model year, Eastwood's character is also conveying his distaste for the lime green color on the Lotus Esprit, and later driving said vehicle during a criminal pursuit. Sheen's character also takes part in a scene involving an older, rare Harley Davidson riding head-on through the roof of a residential home. Coordination of the lighting along with the capturing of all other photographic elements in the film were achieved by cinematographer Jack N. Green. Though Raul Julia's performance in the film was praised, his casting as a German crime lord, Strom, as well as Sonia Braga's casting as Lysel, came as a surprise to critics and audiences alike. Stunt coordinator Terry Leonard and second unit director Buddy Van Horn oversaw the task of integrating the scope of stunt people working to produce the action, which numbered over twice as many actors in the film, said to be over 60 stuntmen, while supervisor John Fraser controlled the special effects. Green, Van Horn, Leonard Fraser, and production manager Valdez began close pre-production discussions 3 months before principal photography. To meet his stylistic lighting objectives in shaping the scenery environment, Green utilized powerful Musco lighting developed during the 1980s. Commenting on a production scene surrounding the character of Polvolsky at his residence, Green noted the home was characteristic of 359 degrees of accessible turns of the camera. He detailed how the crew would go in with these little ceiling units as close to the ceiling as we get them, little accent lights onto the place the actors would be. It would look like it was coming from those practicals, but again, at a dramatic angle. Describing a stunt-related sequence early in the film presented by Eastwood himself, Van Horn, who had been a stunt associate for almost 35 years, took the opportunity to commend the actor on his contributions, saying, "Clint likes to do everything live. When you read the script, you know everything is going to be pretty much live action. Sometimes you have to talk him out of something that just might be a little too risky. Not that he couldn't do that, but if something even minor should happen, you couldn't afford to suspend the production." The sequence which Van Horn alluded to was a scene that involved Eastwood behind the driver's seat, racing a Chevrolet Blazer through stop-and-go traffic while swerving to avoid oncoming cars from the opposite direction. The scene included 20 other stunt drivers operating a carefully rehearsed formation through a head-on collision course. According to Van Horn, who engineered this sequence with Leonard, he noted the whole thing is like a football play. We all sit down and figure out where the cars are, where Clint makes the break out of traffic, where the other cars are going, and just the whole cause and effect for how and why he pulls into the intersection and decides to head on through. That's all worked out ahead of time. Leonard added, in a situation where your rehearsal time is extremely limited, it becomes the old expression experience. It becomes a seat of the pants kind of thing. About 20 drivers and Clint, who know where the close calls are going to be and who's going to be in what position when. But once you get going, there's always an element of surprise, or maybe a car is 10 feet closer than it expected to be, and a driver must react to that. Certain critics, such as author Daniel O'Brien, failed to understand why director Eastwood used Hispanic actors Julia and Braga to play German villains. Puzzled, he mused why Eastwood thought that the Puerto Rican Julia and the Brazilian Braga would make convincing German Schweinhound is difficult to determine, what with Braga in particularly suffering the indignities of awful dialogue. Tell me about it. It's something very well said. Okay. What is a Brazilian doing with the German guy? I didn't even consider that while I was watching. Nobody in the chat room? Okay. Karate Man wasn't expecting me to do this review so early in the week. That's why he's not in the chat room. All right. Summing up the filming experience, Fraser said, things went really well, but you have to give credit to everyone involved. Clint Eastwood and David Valez really gave us the time and their confidence to do it right. We were really rushed, which is so important. We were able to do every one of the major shots in one take. The car out of the building, the carrier turning over, and the planes colliding. That says something. These guys respect the crew and every job done. It makes a big difference. In an interview with Orange Coast magazine, co-star Braga confessed she had never done action before in the film, also stating, I had to learn running and kicking and hitting. Why Eastwood thought that the Puerto Rican Julia and the Brazilian Braga would make convincing German Schweinhund is difficult to determine, with Braga in particular suffering the indignities of awful dialogue. That's coming from Daniel O'Brien, the author. Great quote. Excellent. All right. Under Eastwood's direction, Braga commented, when you act with the director, you don't have any barriers because you're giving and taking at the same time. On a separate note, author Mark Elliott described the graphic rape scene in the film that gained much publicity as being an explosive sequence, and the only one in the film that people talked about. As obviously provocative and exploitative as it was, Ars Gracia Artis, the scene may also be read as conveying Clint's feeling victimized at the hands of a beautiful but bad woman. Offering another take on the scene, author John H. Foote noticed Braga looks somewhat embarrassed during the sequence, leaving us wonder why Eastwood, the director, did not handle the sequence in a different manner. Was he hoping the film would offer audiences something new? Yeah, it's almost a surreal scene that you're thinking, what the heck is going on? What's wrong with this woman? Author Douglas Thompson bluntly referred to the rape scene as sadomasochistic. I think it's necromaniac stuff, and Braga as a there it is right there. Let me restate this again. Author Douglas Thompson bluntly referred to a rape scene as sadomasochistic and Braga as a kinky nymphomaniac. I think she's I think she's into uh she makes a remark where she's gonna he's gonna die with a bang or something. I don't know. He's gonna go out with a bang before he dies. While adding, before she rapes Eastwood, she plays around with his chest with a razor blade, then gets into torrid action. Is that what it was? I thought it was an ice cube or something. I couldn't really see. Like I said, all the scenes were dark and hard to see things when it's poorly lit. Author Howard Hughes indicated that the event was one of Eastwood's most distasteful scenes in his entire career. Ironically, while the rape scene attributed considerable attention, little apparent notice was paid to the scene in which protagonist Polovsky commits murder by similarly executing Strom. The major stunt scenes were executed before the camera with no miniatures, no blue screens, while mostly being shot at night, completed during May 1990. The centerpiece stunt of the film involved a Mercedes-Benz convertible driving through the fourth floor window of an exploding warehouse. Yeah, that was a centerpiece stunt, all right. For a scene, a 1,500-pound Mercedes auto mock-up was connected by 150 feet of quarter-inch pulleyed cable to a 4x4 pickup truck on the ground. The truck would drive straight ahead and pull the Mercedes through the windows as the cable that connected the two vehicles exhibited a tensile strength of 8,000 pounds. Once the pull on the cable started, both vehicles would move in precise proportion to one another. After the mock-up launched through the windows, the hook connecting the Mercedes would drop. As Fraser explained, the hook is very similar to the kind used to launch jets on aircraft carriers. Once the hook falls away, the Mercedes is propelled by its own momentum. Aerodynamics played a key role in the execution. As Franzier referred to the stunt, saying, when the car left the building, it was very important that it exit and travel flat. A lot of times it doesn't matter. In this case, if the car didn't travel flat, you would know that the car would not have survived into the next sequence where it landed on the rooftop. We had to set up aerodynamics on that car so that every time it went out the window, including the test, it flew out without the nose dipping down. The explosion-filled destruction of the warehouse was produced by 9 separate 18-inch steel mortars on each of the 4 floors. When fully discharged, all 36 mortars produced the largest orchestrated explosion ever allowed in Los Angeles city limits permitted at that time. So in other words, it was the most awesome explosion from the beginning of time until 1990 AD. Think about that. When the car left the building, it was very important that it exit and travel flat. A lot of times it doesn't matter. In this case, if the car didn't travel flat, you would know that the car could not have survived into the next sequence where it landed on the rooftop. We had to set up aerodynamics on that car so that every time it went out the window, including the test, it flew out without the nose dipping down. Another major stunt sequence consisted of a 50-foot long, 15 meters, 21-ton, two-tiered automobile carrier flipping over on its side, flinging its automotive cargo onto a freeway of traffic. In the sequence, the carrier is scripted to disconnect from the primary cab at highway speed so that the carrier veers off to one side while eventually flipping over. Fraser explained how Clint did not want the car carrier rolling over and over down the highway. He just wanted it to go over on its side and then slide until it stopped. It would have been easier to load that thing up with cars, get up to speed, and barrel roll it down the highway, but it wouldn't have looked realistic for his character to have survived it. When the car left the building, it was very important that it exit and travel flat. A lot of times it doesn't matter. In this case, if the car didn't travel flat, you would know that the car would not have survived into the next sequence where it landed on the rooftop. We had to set up aerodynamics on the car so that every time it went through the window, including the test, it flew out without the nose dipping down. That's John Fraser, stunt supervisor. A semi-truck, which was trailing 150 feet behind the carrier, held on to it by the means of a cable. After the carrier became detached from the passenger cab, the semi-truck came to a stop, yanking the carrier from the cab. Fraser demonstrated how gravity played a significant and key role during the scene. He noted by itself the carrier would not have come off the cab. It could ride there forever, even though it's been realized just due to the weight of the carrier. So we needed the holdback cable to the truck behind, and on cue, the driver locked his brakes. After the carrier disengaged from the cab, steel caster wheels attached to the underside of the carrier directed it to the center embankment. A stuntman who was riding in the carrier fired 3 cannons to physically lift it over on its side. A small jet aircraft, Hansa jet, pursuing the lead characters played by Eastwood and Sheen, complements another tightly coordinated stunt scene. Aerial coordinators James W. Gavin and Eric W. Gray. After chasing the 2 detectives through a grassy area, the Hansa jet is hit by a Convair 880 depicted as landing. The initial sequence showing aircraft on approach uses a BAE 146. Both the San Jose and Mojave airports were scripted as LA International Airport during the filming of the scene. Right before the impact, the Hansa jet was actually stationary before being pulled by a 150-foot steel cable attached to a 4-wheel drive pickup truck right before the explosion erupted. Fraser explained, the reason we did that is because if the planes collide first, it's likely they'll upend all our wires and the explosion wouldn't occur at all. Another reason is that it had the Hansa jet not demolished before impact. It could have spun the other plane around and we might have ended up with 880 in our shot instead. The ensuing explosion after the Convair dissects the Hansa jet was powered by 10 gallons of gasoline and 4 separate 18-inch mortars. The detonation device included a 125-foot electrical cable set off by a bull switch to help achieve the desired effect. The score for the film, which included elements of jazz music and considerable use of trumpet, was originally composed by American saxophonist Lenny Niehaus. The music store, the music score was mixed by Robert Fernandez and edited by Donald Harris. The sound effects in the film were supervised by Robert G. Henderson and Alan Robert Murray. The mixing of the sound effects were orchestrated by Donald F. Johnson and Michael Evjay. Although not officially released, music from the soundtrack included songs entitled All the Things You Are, written by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein II, as well as Red Zone, written by Kyle Eastwood and Michael Stevens. All right. The film received mostly negative reviews from critics. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A+ to F scale. That is way higher than what I rated it. I'm rating it a D, man. Among the reviews, Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times mildly complimented the stunts and special effects, mentioning there are some good ones, including a chase down an expressway with Eastwood driving his car right up the loading ramp of a semi-auto carrier. And that didn't really impress me, but okay. And noting that the film was jammed with material and the budget was obviously large, lamestream, but somehow now not much pays off. It's all there on the screen, but lifeless. Well, that's a good point about the spend a lot of money and no results. On another negative front, Ebert also criticized Sheen's performance, saying he kept a poker face and a laconic voice through much of the movie and doesn't generate the kind of vigor and intensity the role needs. A more nervous actor might have been a better choice. Ebert's partner, Gene Siskel, voices agreement. It's a very depressing experience. Everyone's wasted in the film. The Latino stereotypes when they get out on the street are just awful. I didn't even notice that. Why is that a big deal? Okay, Gene Siskel, we know you're politically correct. He went on to state, nobody has a good role. Raul Julia is wasted. Sonia Braga is tawdry. We like her tawdry. This was going to be a classy international star. It's a joke. We don't want her to be classy. Come on. Hal Hinson of the Washington Post solidly concurred, saying Eastwood runs his talented U.S. macho numbers, saying the same limited repertoire of squints, but he's gotten way too long in the tooth to pull them off, and the thrill is long gone. Incidentally, another Washington Post staff writer, Dustin Howe, dismissed the film as well. He openly wondered whether the film will have something original about it. Maybe there's a twist somewhere, something to set it apart from the 20,595 other buddies in uniform movies made in recent years. In contrast with the buddy film genre, though, Pat Collins of WWOR TV enthusiastically proclaimed the film to be the best buddy cop movie of the year. The Variety staff, however, added to the general dismay of the film, saying, overlong, sadistic, and stale even by the conventions of the buddy pick genre, Clint Eastwood's as a rookie is actually Dirty Harry 5.5, since Eastwood's tough as nail cops Nick Polvosky could just as easily be named Harry Callahan. All right, so they're calling this Dirty Harry 5.5. No wonder Karate Man likes this. Clint Eastwood's new film, The Rookie, plays like an anthology of stuff that has worked before in action pictures. It's jammed with material, and the budget was obviously large, but somehow not much pays off. It's all there on the screen, but lifeless. That's Roger Ebert writing in the Chicago Sun-Times. That sounds better than his partner Gene Siskel's review. Vincent Canby of the New York Times expressed his dissatisfaction with the film too. He mused, "The Rookie is an astonishingly empty movie to come from Mr. Eastwood. The screenplay for The Rookie seems to have been pumped up from a script originally intended as a segment for a half-hour television series. There's not much of a story. He wasn't impressed with the special effects either, saying the movie devotes itself to extended set pieces, mostly chases, which are so lazily thought out and edited that the audience is already ready for the twists that are supposed to surprise." Okay, so finally we get confirmation of the sloppy editing here. Also, in regards to the stunt work, author MK of Time Out and London commented, "The movie is full of caricatured cops and robbers and punctuated with interminably dull car crashes." Yeah, this movie put me to sleep. This is like an insomnia cure. It's like watching Rodin. Alternatively, though, Dave Kerr of the Chicago Tribune felt the quality of the stunt work was superb, commenting that they were the most spectacular action sequences Eastwood has ever filmed. Noted critic Leonard Maltin gave the film a star and a half, somewhat approving of the stunt work by figuratively mentioning, "There's one good freeway crack up, but in the end, felt the theme amounted to formula filmmaking that even bored its intended audience." Certainly bored me. Other movie critics like Jeffrey Lyons of WPIX applauded the performances of the lead characters and called the film tough and gritty, fires with the full clip. Eastwood and Sheen are terrific together. Equally swayed in opinion was film critic Susan Granger of American Movie Classics, AMC. The slam bam action packed thriller packs a wallop, giving the film a C+ rating. Critic Owen Gleiberman from Entertainment Weekly posted, "The Rookie is like a series of garish exploitation set pieces jammed into the shape of a buddy movie." He went further in his criticism, saying, "As movie making goes, The Rookie is on the slovenly side. The plot makes almost no sense, and Eastwood directs in his usual toneless fashion." But on a lighter note relating to the film's comedic appeal, he stated, "In this case, the fact that you can't always tell the intentional comedy from the unintentional isn't necessarily a drawback." In agreement on the lack of plausibility surrounding the plot, author Marshall Julius still offered, though, an almost entirely positive review, giving the film 3.5 guns, exclaiming, "As directed by Eastwood, The Rookie is deliberately silly, knockabout adventure which aims for outrageous and hits the bullseye. We're talking good, dumb fun, get your brains out, and the beer's in, and you're all set." The film premiered in cinemas on December 7th, 1990. At its widest distribution in the U.S., the film was screened at 1,862 theaters, grossing $5,510,056 in its opening weekend. During that weekend in release, the film opened in third place behind Home Alone and Misery. The film's revenue dropped by 36% in its second week of release, earning $3,512,765. During its final weekend showing in theaters, the film grossed $1,224,696. The film went on to top out at $21,633,874 in total ticket sales through a 5-week theatrical run. For 1990 as a whole, the film would cumulatively rank at a box office performance position of 56. That's pretty bad. The film was released in VHS video format on May 27, 1992. The Region 1 Codes widescreen edition of the film was released on DVD in the United States on September 2nd, 2003, and it includes a digital transfer soundtrack remastered on Dolby Digital 5.1 interactive menus, Eastwood film highlights, scene access, and the theatrical trailer. The film was released on Blu-ray disc on June 1st, 2010. In January 1991, a novelization based on the screenplay was released, distributed by Warner Bros. It was written by Tom Philbin. All right. Let's check out the IMDb page. Oh, Karate Man made it to the chat room. What is this? Lots of action. I love the scene where they drive the car out the window with massive explosion. That was the highlight of the whole movie. The rest of the movie stank. The Rookie should have easily just been the sixth Dirty Harry movie. They're calling it Dirty Harry 5.5. Eastwood is pretty much playing Dirty Harry in a way. He uses a 44 Magnum. Yes. They say his name is what name did they give him in this movie? They should have named him Harry Callahan. But they named him Nick Pawlowski. Very similar. The finale in the airport is another cool action scene. I didn't like that. Or even the scene where Eastwood smudges the mobster spaghetti. Okay. I don't get why the critics dislike The Rookie. Way too underrated, especially the fact that not too many people ever mention about it these days. Maybe it was the script, the lighting, the editing could have played a role, I think. Critics trash on a lot of action movie for whatever ridiculous reason. They are snobs. I think they're just pointing out that this movie is poorly lit and the dialogue is bad. The critics can't handle the Sheenwood, pun intended. Well, I don't know. I guess you have to be Karate Man to like this. Because Karate Man says anyone who doesn't like this is a snob, including me, I guess. Okay, The Rookie gets a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb. Nothing spectacular, but still a higher rating than what I gave it. I give it a 2 out of 5, which equates to only 4 out of 10. It's quite popular, though. 30,000 ratings. At least by this channel standards, sometimes I add movies that have 0 ratings. We like to add those movies to the bottom of our movie list here. The Rookie, 1990, rated R, 2 hours. A veteran detective is assigned a rookie partner after his previous partner is killed by a car theft gang. And they don't even have a black buddy on this one. He is determined to apprehend those responsible for his friend's death, but his new partner isn't really up to the task. Okay. More like this. White Hunter Black. What is this? White Hunter Black something. Then you got Pink Cadillac, Tightrope, and True Crime. Those are the more like this films. The highest rated one is True Crime. This movie featured over twice as many stuntmen as it did actors and actresses. Set the world record for the biggest ratio of stuntmen to actors and actresses. Reportedly, over 80 stuntmen worked on this movie. This is just mind-boggling how much money they spent on stunts. When Loco is fighting with Sarah in the living room, a crew member wearing a white t-shirt is briefly visible by the front door, as well as one in a green shirt. Nick Polofsky says to Strom, "There's got to be 100 reasons why I don't blow you away. Right now, I can't think of one." The Australian television version was inconsistently edited for sexual and violent content. The scene between Lysel and Polofsky ends after she explains the purpose of the bullet she wears, yet the full sequence is shown in the video screen later when Ackerman pursues Polofsky. I guess she rewound the videotape and she pressed play before the action sequence. All sequences of 3 bullet deaths, such as Sarah killing Loco and the amateur shootings of Ackerman and Liesel, are reduced to 1 bullet. The final shooting of Strom is heard but not shown. This was featured in Siskel and Ebert, Misery, Hidden Agenda, and Cyrano de Bergerac from 1990. The soundtracks, All the Things You Are, written by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein II. We mentioned them earlier. Here's a review by Wizard 8, dated August 20th, 2010. It's another bad review. I don't see a rating on it. This is yet another bad review. Another snob, as Karate Man would say. Well, Clint Eastwood, what other films have I seen of Clint Eastwood? I've seen The Beguiled, Dirty Harry, of course, and then there's the Deadpool. I've seen the Deadpool. I'll pull up his filmography and I'll tell you. Over 60 films? That's it? How many films has William Smith been in? Or John Carradine? All right. So we mentioned Dirty Harry. I've seen The Rookie just now. I guess that's it. Did I mention? Oh, this is his directing. Okay, acting. Here we go. Here we go. Mentioned Dirty Harry. Okay. I think. Oh, I've seen Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. I've seen Every Which Way But Loose, Escape from Alcatraz. No, I take it back. Yeah, Every Which Way But Loose. What else? The Deadpool, of course. The Rookie. And I guess that's it. Not too many Clint Eastwood flicks that I've seen. All right. So this movie reviewer goes by the name of Wizard 8. Posted a review on August 20th, 2010. There's no rating on it, but the review itself says will likely disappoint action and or Eastwood fans. Didn't disappoint Karate Man. It's clear that upon watching The Rookie that Clint Eastwood's heart simply was not with this project, either as a director or an actor. Possibly he only decided to do this commercial project so that Warner Brothers would greenlight the less commercial White Hunter Black Heart. So that's the movie that I was trying to figure out. White Hunter Black Heart, which actually gets a higher 6.5, I think, out of 10. Yeah, it gets a 6.5 out of 10 compared to a 5.9 for this one. That came out the same year. Whatever the reason, Eastwood seems to be doing on autopilot in front of and behind the camera. His performance here lacks conviction, and he comes across as a cranky old man instead of a man with grit and determination. And as a director, he slips up multiple times. The action sequences are dull when they should be spectacular. The freeway chase, for example, is flat despite all the vehicles that get destroyed. The night scenes and often the interior scenes are dark and murky, making it hard to see all the detail about what's going on. For instance, the razor blade during the rape scene. And what's the deal with the dream sequence at the opening of the movie? In fact, there are a number of script boo-boos that make me surprised that Eastwood didn't demand a rewrite. Why doesn't Eastwood call for backup at the opening action sequence? Why is Raul Julia's past and motives never properly spelled out? And why is Eastwood so determined to bust him? Why do Eastwood and Sheen hardly have any real conversations between them instead of cliched tough cop talk? Also, the slow moving story at times feels like the writers were writing as the movie was being shot instead of using a finished screenplay. It might also explain why key actions and scenes seem to be missing from the finished project. I thought it was sloppy editing. I really did. What really annoyed me most about the rookie was all the swearing. Yeah, Clint Eastwood is a potty mouth in this one, in addition to getting raped by a hot Brazilian woman. Don't get me wrong. I use the same words in my private life, and I've seen movies I've enjoyed with plenty of swearing, but here, every curse word comes across as forced, as if a child was making this movie and gleefully adding naughty net language in an effort to appear tough. It's simply not convincing. Maybe with better direction and a heavily rewritten script, it could have worked. Those things probably would have greatly improved the rest of the movie as well. All right. Yeah, it's 1 in the morning in San Francisco. It's 1:19 in the morning. I get to sleep in tomorrow, so I did my first review. I'll probably do 2 or 3 more. Dirty Harry was filmed in San Francisco. What a coincidence. I guess he is fighting crime right now next to me. I think he's about 100 years old, Clint Eastwood. He's probably in a hospital bed. Anyways, there's a great scene over by Kezar Stadium, which I drive by on the way to work every day. And that was Die Hard kind of created a ripple. Oh, Turbo. There's somebody else in the chat room. Treebit Kid? Die Hard kind of created a ripple effect of movie similar tone, but missed the execution. Did you catch Scorpio? Oh, so we got 2 people in the chat room. So going down my movie list, this is what I'm looking at for tomorrow. I've got Daylight, 1996, Fast and Furious 6, 2013, and of course Jimmy Trainor's Alien Parasite film, 2022, which I promised to review last year, but I was so slow going down my movies list that I didn't get to it until a year later. So there you have it. I'm up over an hour again on these lame stream movies. Thank you, Karate Man. Nice chatting with you. I'll see you tomorrow. Laters.